Nigerians are really smart people. So when I saw on the front page of the newspapers today, the former president's press release packaged and sold in traffic, that was very amazing how Nigerians really... so they took former President Obasanjo's statement, 15-page, bind it together, titled it, and sold it in public. And so I was hoping, let's hope that today we'll have the Buhari's administration's response for those who produced those things yesterday and commercialize them. Let's put this one together from Lai Mohammed, and then you can, if you like, sell them on the street for those who may want to buy them. But that's interesting, isn't it? We just make money from whatever happens. Johnson Chukwu, that's very creative, isn't it?
Yeah, we are very creative people.
Yes, and I saw newspapers this morning.
Nigerians are very enterprising.
They just bounded.
They're just being held back by a weak system. Otherwise, this country should have exploded. I was shocked that I was driving and I looked at the front page of the Punch newspapers and I saw young people... Father, here did yesterday that people immediately generated those and started selling it in Abuja.
Yes, it is.
One, there is demand for it. They have been able to identify there's a demand. So there is a market. And what they did, what happened to the market? And they make money. So some
folks, without taking authorship, without paying any royalty to former President Obasanjo, would have made money yesterday.
Yeah, from his letter.
From his letter?
Yeah.
Lai Mohammed's letter should be given the same.
Assuming there's demand for it.
Assuming there's a demand for it. Oh, that's
the key factor. There must be a market which is driven by demand. So once the demand evolves, the Nigerians will latch onto that and create a business out of it. So how do we create? So if we're going to demand and supply, which is basic economics, isn't it? Yeah. Basic business principle. Business 101. You don't need to, 1.0, you don't need rocket science to do that. But we can't achieve that in this economy for a people-led economy because we have a problem with our governance, political structure, choosing the best of us, as you said in your earlier comment, for this position. So that takes us to that very important issue about our electoral and political cycle. So, well, for me, there's one thing I've always begged politicians. Give us a free and fair electoral system. Don't bother about who we elect. We will make our mistakes as a people. But the reality of Nigerians is that Nigerians as a people are not fraudulent. They are not stupid. So if we have an electoral system that allows for selection or for election of the people's choice, over time we will make mistakes, but we will correct ourselves. The most important thing, we should be able to put in whoever is there against there because he was really elected. And if the person knows that he was employed by the electorate, he will be duty-bound to serve the electorate. But if people get into positions of authority and they believe they bought it with their money, or a godfather somewhere installed them, they will be loyal to the godfather. They're saying that who pays the piper dictates the tune. If the electorate are the one who pays the piper, then they will dictate the tune. And that is what we still lack. Good thing in that the past few elections we've seen in 2015, we saw an electoral system that allowed Nigerians to make a choice. I hope the current government will sustain that. So far, what we've seen in the by-elections, that has been maintained. We need to sustain it at the national election so that Nigerians will be able to choose who they want to lead them. So when professionals like your good self vote, but you don't contest, so what happens? Well, you have to regard we're in an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, different components or different elements of the system will play different roles. All of us cannot be involved in governing Nigeria. Some of us have to be in charge of the business side. Some will be, so that we can create employment. Some will be driving the policy environment. Some will be making the laws. Some will be executing the laws. That's why you should have an ecosystem. But the key thing is that the best of Nigerians should head each of the segments, critical segments of the society. Be it the legislature, executive, the business world. Let me remind you of what Nelson Mandela did when he took over the governance of South Africa. He picked 3 successors. 2 of them were Thabo Mbeki and Cyril Ramaphosa. At some point, it became clear to him that the 3 of them were running into themselves. And he asked Cyril Ramaphosa, and I can't remember his name, to go into the business world and go and dominate the business environment.
Let Thabo
Mbeki should succeed him. Today, Ramaphosa is the leader of ANC. He's coming back. That succession plan is coming back.
From 1994?
From 1994, coming back into play. Today, I understand the current president is being persuaded to resign so that Ramaphosa can take over the...
So the decision of former and late South African president Nelson Mandela that he have that succession in 1994.
14 years ago. 24 years ago.
Yes.
Is still in process.
So, the former president, Nigeria's former president, Obasanjo, has asked President Buhari not to resign. Oh, sorry, not to recontest, I beg your pardon. Not to contest in 2019. That's the political arena. But the key issue is that whether he recontests or he does not, he's got to leave office at one point. So, looking at the economy beyond the Buhari's administration here, because for me, that's the real issue in the former president's special press release and what the current administration has said. The information minister says, well, that they are on top of the situation and that they are prepared to do more. So, what would you like to see moving forward? Do you think we are due for a cabinet change within the remaining period? Because at least the former president says, do not recontest. And like you said at the opening, there's still 18 months left.
Well, the president had already said on his, that he's going to look at juggling his cabinet. I mean, the president announced that sometime last year, towards the end of last year. One was actually expecting that would have been done by now. We also know that historically in this country, as the election period is approaching, the cabinet is always tweaked to bring in more politically savvy elements into the cabinet, such that they will go and win votes for the contestants or the president or governor, as the case may be. But like you said, the key challenge with us today is beyond whether the current president is going to contest or not, but most importantly, how do we develop a political structure, an economic system that will create employment for a larger part of the population, that will grow to accommodate, to lead to an improvement in welfare and well-being of the citizens. I'm going
to cut in there very respectfully, and that's the point about this economic data, which Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information, the Honorable Minister of Information, read out yesterday, but basically core economic data, as it were. So let's talk about the Human Development Index, and you're just leading me to that, about why we need to have an economy that is inclusive and that is human development. So, was President Obasanjo unaware that we have forex reserves at 40 billion? Was he too busy to know that the price of oil has gone to $70 a barrel? Or was he too busy to know that we have capital inflows? Maybe he's too busy for that, but then he can see the man on the street. And he put it in his press statement, that ordinary Nigerians